Hey everyone, Anne O'Connell with OC Publishing here, and welcome to the author journey. I'm wearing my sparkles today and special earrings, so can you guess what that means? Not yet? How about if I do this? Oh, most of you, if you've watched the author journey, know that this means it's a very special day. It's party time because today we are celebrating the launch that is imminent in just a few days of our next title coming out. And it is this beauty, The Arrows of Fealty by Jill MacLean. This is the standalone sequel to Jill's previous medieval historical fiction, The Arrows of Mercy. And Jill is with us today to talk about her new book. We're so excited. It's been, a while coming. So when the anticipation builds and the actual release meets that level of anticipation, that's when I get really excited. And of course, it always does. But for today, we are celebrating, feting The Arrows of Fealty by Jill MacLean. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jill before I bring her on. Jill MacLean's years of writing genre fiction taught her the basics of storytelling. An excellent and demanding full-year poetry course at St. Mary's University in Halifax and a 3-year mentorship with a professor of English and much published poet in Winnipeg honed her love of language and her respect for the power of words. Her poetry collection, The Brevity of Red, was shortlisted for 2 awards. Her 8-year-old grandson then asked her to write him a book, which 3 years and 3 rejections later was published as The 9 Lives of Travis Keating. I know that nobody can say no to a grandchild, so good for you, Jill. 2 more middle grade and 2 young adult novels followed. Altogether, these books won 4 awards and received many nominations. 4 international, including the prestigious White Ravens Honor List in Munich for Nix -1. 2 of the novels are in the Nova Scotia school system. Wanting a change and the challenge of an adult audience, Jill delved into her longtime fascination with the medieval period. In 2023, The Arrows of Mercy was a finalist for the Whistler Independent Book Award, sponsored by the Writers' Union of Canada. Jill has a BSc with honors from Dalhousie University and a master's in theological studies from the Atlantic School of Theology. She loves canoeing, gardening, listening to classical music, and of course, reading. She lives in Bedford, Nova Scotia, near her family. So I'm very close in Nova Scotia as well, but we're going to all be here together. And I'm very excited to say we also have associate publisher Marianne Ward with us, who managed the project and was hands-on guiding Jill through to publication. So here's Jill and Marianne. Yay! Congratulations, Jill, on the imminent launch of Arrows of Fealty. How does it feel?
Well, I want to thank both of you, first of all. You've been so supportive and helpful right from the beginning. So my appreciation to both of you.
No, it's absolutely our pleasure.
I think it's a beautiful book. I'm really happy with the way the book looks. I love the cover. I love the interior design. And it's really nice that the advance, what do you call them, reviews, are also inside the cover. That's a good thing, I think. No, I'm really happy with the look of the book. Grace did a wonderful job. Thanks to her, too.
Yes, Grace Laimler was our designer for this project. And Marianne, you worked very closely with Grace and Jill throughout this project. So how do you feel with this blooming?
I'm echoing everything Jill was saying. I'm thrilled. I mean, I'm a long time Jill MacLean fan. I read her middle grade books as a volunteer with the Hackmatack Book Awards, Children's Book Choice. What's it? Hackmatack Children's Choice Book Award. Jill's middle grade books were shortlisted for those awards, so I read those and loved them. I bought and read and loved her young adult novels. I attended the launch for The Arrows of Mercy. These flags are all that. Oh my God, that writing
Your favorite
is so
parts.
beautiful. I want to remember that.
So I don't love that.
The fact that I got to have anything at all to do with the sequel to The Arrows of Mercy was a thrill, truly a professional thrill for me. And I think it's gorgeous. I mean, Jill was very clear. She wanted it to match with the earlier book. So there were parameters set, but within those parameters, I can't imagine Grace doing a lovelier job. And yes, I agree. It's wonderful to have there's advanced praise in here, reviews for the earlier novel, and things that I know I wished I'd known when I read Arrows of Mercy, for example, that there was a glossary at the back. Tells us right at the front, there's a glossary in the back, which is also very helpful when you're reading, from a different time period. And Jill's beautiful use of language and using words from that time. It's super handy to have the glossary. I couldn't be more delighted. Is that coming across? Should I say it again?
The table of contents in the beginning. And the table of contents is glossary, page, whatever it is.
That's right. So readers know from the get-go that they can flip to the back. Yeah.
Oh, it's, as you can tell, we're gushing. We are fangirling, and we are your number 1 and 2 fans. But you alluded to some of these advanced reviews, like when those started coming in, Jill, like how did that make you feel?
Well, it was hugely encouraging. And again, I want to thank Marianne, because I remember I got this email from her saying, "Well, we've got to find blurbs." And I think, my gosh, they're doing something for me, active in terms of promotion, because the first book was self-published and there was none of that. So this was just a treat for me to have Marianne, in particular, Anne Fleming. That was a wonderful one to get, because you'd met her and mentioned the book to her, and that just kind of blew me away.
So
can I please allow me to read Anne Fleming's blurb, because it's just one of those, for me as the publisher, the pride, and being behind you guys, cheering you on. Everything just sort of really fell into place. And she said, gripping and nuanced from page 1. The Arrows of Fealty is a marvelous tapestry of unshowy yet encyclopedic historical knowledge, deep insight into human nature, and profound wisdom, an absolute triumph. I loved this book. Isn't that amazing? And I know how meticulously researched these books are. And the last time I was with you, you showed the pile of research for your next novel. Marianne, brace yourself. So talk a little bit about your research process, because it's very comprehensive.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, of course, with the first book, I had to find the setting, because Flintbourne is an imaginary village. And I was born in Berkshire in England, which is west of London. So my son agreed, which surprised me, kind of, agreed to drive me around the back lanes of Berkshire on the, quotes, wrong side of the road.
Wow.
Because I think the population might have declined had I been behind the wheel. So really, really good. And we found, with the River Kennet down in the southwest corner. I was born further to the east. And I just loved it. There was something about it that it felt right. So Colin spent a lot of time in the car reading on his tablet while I walked up and down the river and just soaked it in. Because for me, I really need a visual image of the setting. It has to be real to me. Yeah. So that was wonderful. And of course, I read for about a year. And Dalhousie University, which is near me, has a wonderful medieval collection. And I don't know that anybody ever takes it out except me. I never went looking for a book and it wasn't there. And I could always keep it the full 9 weeks and take it back and then come back the next day and take it out again. So I'm truly grateful for that. And I also, I must say, have accumulated my own medieval library, which is rather too big, but there you are. What can you do? So read a lot. And then I guess this always happens at the beginning of the process. It happened with the Arrows of Fealty. With the Arrows of Fealty, some of the research I'd already done because it continued on from the Arrows of Mercy. But some of it was more specific. The first part of the book is John of Gaunt's campaign in France. He was a son of Edward III. And it went from Calais to Bordeaux. Say it quickly, but that's 900 kilometers. This was an army in medieval times with wagons, you know. And think about it, uphill, down vale, over rivers, and in hostile territory the whole way. So I had to do quite a bit of research on that. And luckily, 2 British scholars had each written recent biographies of John of Gaunt. So, of course, I bought them both and read those and then formed my own sense of his character. He's not a major character, but he's a significant character. And then the other major part of the research for the Arrows of Fealty was it's often called the Peasants' Revolt, but actually far more than peasants were involved. Quite a few gentry, the occasional knight, and a lot of urban people as well. So they call it the Great Revolt. That was 1381, where Essex and Kent basically marched small armies on London, took over the city, paralyzed the government. I mean, it was a fascinating thing, fascinating. So I did a lot of research on that because I wanted Hawken to be there. And then I chose the scenes where he would actually be.
And the scenes are visceral, like, you know, when you're explaining about the research and, you know, reading about, you know, the medieval scenes and the historical events that you wanted to include. You have such a brilliant way of bringing the reader into those scenes. They're grimy, they're dusty, they're bloody. You know what I mean? Like, and that makes me very, like, I've got like goosebumps and that tingle on my scalp. Like, what did you think, Marianne?
Oh, I mean, exactly that, and that is what. Okay, I have a confession. When I first heard you, I've explained I was already a fan of Jill's writing, but when I first heard medieval, it was about this guy, he's an archer, it's like war, you know, I thought, yeah, I'm not sure that's my cup of tea. But Jill's writing, I'm so glad I got over myself and started reading, because within the first page, I was immersed, and I needed to know how was Edmund going to make out this is the first book. And again, I love historical fiction for the way it allows us to learn about other times and places and experiences of being a human on this earth. And Jill has done that just exceptionally well in these 2 books, as those early reviewers pointed out. And I do just want to share with the audience who might not recognize the name Anne Fleming that we were referring to earlier, but Anne's recent book of historical fiction, Curiosities, was shortlisted for the Giller Prize last year. So, you know, we love Jill. She's our friend, but these are readers who don't know Jill, who are praising the strength of her writing. And that's you know, that's how you get those tingles, because Jill's writing is just so precise and immersive, and all the senses, the grime, the smell, all of it. It's there. You are walking in the muck alongside.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I'm going to use that. Walking in the muck. We should make T-shirts. Right?
Walking in the Hawken.
Yes. So I think this is a perfect place, because we've been talking about it, for Jill to do a reading so that the others can hear it and then be so gripped by it that they will come to the launch on Sunday, September 21st at WFNS. So let's have Jill do that for us.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. The other thing I quickly want to say about the glossary is that it contains a pronunciation guide, because so many people said to me afterwards, how do you pronounce the name of Edmund's wife? Hawise. And it's Hawise to my ears, but a lot of people didn't know how to pronounce it. So there is a pronunciation guide at the back too. Okay, I'll just begin from page 1. This takes place in Calais. The army has disembarked on the Norman coast, actually at a location very close to where the D-Day landing was. And they are then going to march east along the coast to end up in Calais. So here they are in Calais. The protagonist's name is Hawken. He is the second son of Edmund, who is the protagonist of the first book. And he has volunteered for this campaign because he absolutely hates farming. So he'll not forget this sight till the day death claims him. Blare of trumpets, heartbeat thud of drums, and in the distance the army's vanguard stirs into motion. Bright-hued banners flaunt themselves in the wind off the channel. Pale sunlight dances on the polished steel of armor. Horses snort, curvet, and fart. The captain of his retinue bellows, "Get up!" And he, Hawken of Flintbourne, is riding in John of Gaunt's army, leaving Calais for an unknown world to the south, a world of adventure, where he'll take part in something of far greater import than himself and his small village. This war will be one long raid on the French countryside, Calais to Bordeaux, a chevauchée that rounds up beasts to feed the army and grain to make its bread and burns everything else. Battles, too, which they will win, for English archers are unbeatable. And for the victors, loot, from dukes to lowly varlets. 18 winters to his name, and he'll go home rich. 2 dukes, 3 earls, knights, and squires. He's ranked them in their proper order already, and is in awe of their magnificence, the sheer splendor of their vivid coats of arms and of armor whose cost is so far beyond his reach as to be unimaginable. He's but a serf, a villain, the lowest of the low. By craning his neck, he can see John of Gaunt, Duke of Lancaster, son of good King Edward. The Duke's red and blue jupon is emblazoned with gold lions and fleur-de-lis, his very vestments laying claim to France. He's astride his destrier, a huge black horse bred for war. Hawken bends forward and rubs his mare's sleek chestnut coat. Modge is a cob, sturdy and much loved, although he tries not to display the bond between them for fear of jests. She swishes her tail. The smell of close-pressed horseflesh fills his nostrils. 'Tis how heaven must smell. His friends Piers and Willem are riding to one side of him, and a smile stretches his face. Harnesses jingle, armor clanks, a noise he hadn't expected, a somewhat undignified noise. And the trumpets cry, "Victory, glory, Aquitaine for England."
Yay! Well done. I love that. Yeah, I love hearing a story in the author's voice. There's really, really nothing like it. So I love that. So talk a little bit about how I mentioned in the introduction that you wrote poetry, genre fiction, and YA.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned really quickly that you have a passion for the medieval time period, but what was it that really did inspire that transition to writing medieval historical fiction?
I think in one sense it was an almost negative thing. I wrote the 5 books for young readers, 3 middle grade, 2 YA. 4 of them, they were all contemporary. 4 of them were set in Newfoundland. Bullying was a thread, overtly or less overtly, in most of them. And I sort of felt as though I was getting in a literary rut. And I didn't really want to write another one. I could feel that, but I didn't know what I wanted to write. So there was a gap, a hiatus, and it was somewhat scary because I'd been a writer for a long time and I didn't like not writing. And I think in my long-time fascination, although considerable lack of knowledge about the medieval period, surfaced I'd been to the cloisters in New York City a long time ago, and I'd been more recently to France, and we went to Chartres. It was an amazing place, the colors, and the huge, awe-inspiring. I'd been to Chartres, and I'd been to the Cluny Museum, and because I'm from Berkshire in England, and have been back several times as an adult, I've been inside the old Norman churches, which have been there for 800 years or more, thick-walled, narrow-windowed, a little dusty, some of them, often in small, rural villages. And you sit there in the pews or on the benches, and you think of the people who have worshipped there or brought their problems there, their troubles, their sorrows, their joys, their children to be baptized, their people to be buried over 800 years. And it just gets to me. And I guess I decided I want to go back there. And originally, which I say in the introduction to the author's note to the Arrows of Mercy, I wanted to write about serfs, the villeins, the peasants, because generally speaking, there are some wonderful, wonderful books written about aristocrats. But it didn't grab me. I wanted to write about the bottom rung of the social ladder. And at first I thought, well, I'll be writing about people. There's nothing written about them, 3 cheers for me. And then I started doing the research and discovered the manorial court rolls, which were kept on each manor when the lord of the manor held his courts and would fine the serfs or would give them orders to do this or that, or would collect taxes and tallage and merchant and shevage and lairwhite and all these various things that he was able to collect from these poor villeins to enrich himself. And so I knew there was a lot of material, and I just.
But how fascinating! But a lot of material that really hadn't seen the light of modern day, right? So.
Well, a lot of them now are actually. Okay. A lot of them, they're written in Middle English, of course, or in Latin sometimes, or even in French, because a lot of the aristocrats at the time spoke French. But people, more recent scholars, are translating them into English, which for somebody like me is immensely valuable.
Right.
Obviously speak Middle English.
So
exciting to go and actually read them.
Might have made it a little less daunting. I just want to say a shout out to folks who are watching. Sue Slade, Dartmouth Book Exchange. Hey, Sue. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to see you.
Bruce Bishop says, brava, Jill. Congratulations on your latest release. Thank you, Bruce. And Sue says, I agree with Marianne Ward. Reading historical fiction makes history more personal and relatable. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's I won't say it's better than reading a textbook, but it certainly is more fun. It depends on your approach, right?
I do try to be accurate, by the way, if I might put that in, as much as possible.
Please.
I want to be accurate to the historical record, which, of course, is always written by the winners. So who knows how accurate it is, but what else do we have?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you talked about, scholars translating the Old English into modern English, making it easier for your research. When you think about shifting a writing style, from poetry, middle grade, YA, genre fiction, how did your mindset have to shift? Or did you find it easy once you were immersed in it?
I think what I did was I did all this reading, and then I almost had to stand back from it and let it sink in. And I think what was significant remained with me. I don't always remember everything, so that's probably a good thing.
Right.
And I always walk in the mornings early, and hopefully in a bit of nature. I mean, so many things that I'd look at, I would think, well, I wonder what Edmund or Hawken would think of this. And they would be able to see exactly what I'm experiencing right now. And then sometimes a plane would go overhead, and I'd think, what's that? Yeah. I think the dialogue was the hardest thing. I worked really hard on the dialogue because
Mhm.
I don't know Berkshire dialect of today.
Mhm.
I tried to find some, but I didn't have much success there. And that, I think, was one of the stumbling blocks. And I worked really hard on it. And I hope it worked.
Did for me.
Yeah, it was tricky.
Did you get, I mean, after Arrows of Mercy, did you get feedback from people who, who were scholars or anybody that had feedback that you then applied to Arrows of Fealty?
I think I came up more with the local scholars for the second book.
Okay.
Kathy Causey came to my house one time and read in Middle English to me when I had the English right on the left-hand side of the page, and she read the Middle English. It was wonderful. It
Oh,
was just
that's so
wonderful.
cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I
that's
was
so
so
cool.
pleased. She's a professor of medieval literature, and when she
Wow.
thought the research was meticulous, and I sort of thought, oh,
Oh, that's, you're like, oh, thank you.
yeah,
How long did it take you to write Arrows of Fealty, like from start of the research to
oh,
the
probably,
first draft? We don't need to talk about how long the edits took.
yeah, the editing always takes me a long time. I would say probably 2 years, 2.5. I would say, yeah. And then the editing always takes a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know whether we had the time, but I kind of wrote it a bit minimally because I overwrote the Arrows of Mercy and ended up with this big mess of a book. And
How
so
many
this
words was in
underwrote
that draft?
150 plus thousand, and it got down to 113 in the end.
Wow.
And I was telling Marianne, I finished the last page of the manuscript, my first draft of the Arrows of Fealty, and it was on page 370. And I looked up the manuscript of the Arrows of Mercy. It ended on page 370. I couldn't have done that if I tried.
Wow.
So anyway, it no longer ended up once I started editing because I added and subtracted one thing and another.
Marianne, I think you had a question. Did you?
I just wanted to chime in with something. Yes, the book is deeply researched. Yes, it's accurate to the time period. It is also striking in how, in some ways, contemporary the story is, because it is about an oppressive regime and individuals doing something about it.
Yes.
And the need for individuals to come together as a collective to make change. And, we, some might say, are living at a time where there's
yes.
Regimes that people are not happy with, that are, you might even argue, against the people. And so, I would not want any potential reader to be in any way feel like this is a scholarly work.
No.
Jill's done all the research. She's consulted the scholars, but the book, that's the backdrop of a story that is very human and very relatable. Like you might be surprised, as I was with the Arrows of Mercy. After having confessed, I wasn't sure medieval. No. It's extraordinarily relatable. Hawken is fully real and human and feels all the feels that we feel. So yeah, I just wanted to chime up about that.
Oh, I love that. And it's so true. And Hawken being torn, between two potential, partners, and the polar opposite differences between them, and no spoilers. But romance and intrigue and passion and power and sadness and crisis. Like it's got
family dynamics, like the relationship between Edmund, the protagonist from Arrows of Mercy, is in this story, Hawken's father. So those of us who got to know Edmund, he's back. and in fact, we haven't mentioned that the story is told from both points from 2 points of view, from Hawkins' point of view and also Edmund's.
Yeah.
So the father-son relationship is a really important part of this story. And again, people are going to relate to that parent-child relationship and the strife that can be there, and you want that person to be proud of you, and anyway, all of that. So yeah. Hats off to Jill.
Yeah, I think so too. What do you want people to take away from this, Jill?
From the novel?
From reading, when they come to the end of the novel, like, how do you hope people feel without any spoilers?
Oh, I have no idea.
That might not be a fair question.
Yeah. I hope they just feel they've been inside a story that was well worth their time and their investment. And I'm not saying that well. I don't quite know. That's a difficult question.
I think that's the perfect answer. That people come away from reading a book feeling it was time well spent. Really.
Yeah, and that they've been somewhere real. And
yeah.
And as you say, that it's relatable to modern times.
Yeah. And there's no doubt in my mind, and I can't believe that we're already to the end. How crazy is that? I want to make sure that people know where to find you. So I'm going to pop up your website again.
Thank you.
JillMacLean.ca. Also Jill MacLean .mywriting.network, but it's easier to go to .ca, and it'll take you right to the website. And on her website, you'll see, of course, her new book, The Arrows of Fealty, highlighted, releasing September 21st. And you can, navigate around and visit the rest of the pages on her website, JillMacLean.ca, to see her other books. And as we said, The Arrows of Fealty is a standalone, but you will fall in love with Hawken. You'll want to know more about Edmund, so you'll want to read Arrows of Mercy as well. So it's been so much fun, you guys, and I'm looking forward to really celebrating with you in person this Sunday, September 21st. And I hope those who are watching, we have just a couple more comments before we go. Deanna Foster, also a local author. She says, Jill, you're a new favorite author. Yay. Deanna, yeah, I hope you can join us. And Sue also liked your answer about people feeling that it was time well spent. So guys, thank you so much. Marianne, thank you as always for just being there and doing such an amazing job and leading this project. And Jill, congratulations. I'm so excited. We'll just keep singing the praises and getting the word out there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Here, both of you.
And thank you all for joining us on the author journey. I'm Anne O'Connell with OC Publishing, signing out for this week. We'll see you next time. And I hope you're reading lots of great books. And if you're an author, writing that next project, because as Jill said, it's uncomfortable when you're a writer your whole life and there's a gap. You don't know what to do with yourself. So just keep writing. That's all I can say for now. And I'll say goodbye and see you next time on the author journey. Bye.